Vice-Chancellor, the university's Distinguished Teachers Award, given only once to an individual, recognizes teaching at any or all levels by a member of the faculty who has made a significant and lasting impression on students. It acknowledges the primary place of teaching and learning in the work of the university and marks sustained excellence in teaching. Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you for the Award of Distinguished Teachers Award for 2014, Delawir Kahn, Professor and Head of Department of Surgery. Vice-Chancellor, Del Kahn is a world-renowned liver and kidney transplant surgeon who is dedicated to undergraduate and postgraduate teaching because he believes in the development of young people and young minds. He has brought new approaches to the teaching of medical registrars who now have a 95% success rate in the college examinations. His goal is to contribute to the development of surgeons who will not only provide excellent patient care, but also obtain a deep sense of satisfaction in the performance of their surgical duties. It is his love for teaching and interacting with young people that led to the formation of the UCT Surgical Society, which embraces students from the first to the final year. His friendly approach has endeared him to students and staff at every level of training, and it is rumored that his teaching takes place not only in the classroom, wards and operating theatres, but also on the golf course. Vice-Chancellor, I have the honour to present for the award of Distinguished Teachers Award for 2014, Delawir Kahn. Vice-Chancellor, I'm going to call on Del Kahn to give the graduation address. Del?
Distinguished faculty, proud parents, and the class of 2016. 2014, sorry. That's the bad news for you guys. My colleagues here have been extremely worried about how long I'm going to be speaking for. The secret of a good graduation address is to keep it as short as possible. And the Dean has only given me 10 minutes, so I'll have to stick to that. There's not much you can say in 10 minutes. Now, the Dean tells me that this class is the best class that there has ever been in the history of the health sciences faculty. Actually, that's not really true, but I had to say something like that. I just made that up because I had to say something like that because the Vice-Chancellor's daughter's in your class, and I had to say something like that. But I know a lot of you have been thinking that it's just so wonderful that it's all over. There's no more studying, no more assignments to do, no more lectures, no more tutorials, and that you finally reach the end. But I've got some good news and some bad news for you. The bad news that this is not the end. It's actually only the end of the beginning. Because tomorrow, or on the 1st of January, all of you will be embarking on this journey of being a healthcare professional. The good news is that it's a wonderful journey. It's a long journey. It's a journey that we've all taken and have thoroughly enjoyed. Now, being a healthcare professional means different things to different people. Some people regard being a healthcare professional as having a career. And then there are other people, other healthcare professionals, who regard it as a job. There's a very big difference between having a career and having a job. I think I've been blessed with having a career. I've got a career as a transplant surgeon. Somebody with a job is doing it purely for the money. If you need cash, you get yourself a job. People who have a career thoroughly enjoy what they do. I thoroughly enjoy what I do. Surgeons in generally regard themselves as having a career. A surgeon who can operate till 10 o'clock at night, every night, will do so. If a surgeon could operate 7 days a week, he would do so. Somebody with a job is just doing it. They don't particularly like what they're doing, but they're doing it because they need the money. So I hope most of you will be blessed as I've been in having a career. Now, what exactly does a healthcare professional do? And if you had to ask 10 people what do healthcare professionals do, you'd probably get 10 different answers. And so I'm going to give you my version of what I think you as healthcare professionals should be doing in the future. And the first thing, the number one thing, the foremost thing, is that you'll be treating patients. It's all about patients. At any one time, the individual patient sitting in front of you is the most important thing. Whether it's Mrs. Jones with her pneumonia, or Mr. Dlamini with his cellulitis, or Mr. Peterson with his gastric cancer, that person at that time is the most important thing to you. I know there's some of my colleagues on the stage, they call them public health specialists. They might think differently, but take it from me, it's about the patient. The second thing that you do as a healthcare professional is to teach. It's interesting that the word doctor, if you look up the word doctor in the dictionary, it means to treat patients. But the word doctor is derived from the Latin docere, which means to teach. And so you're going to be expected to do both of those. And even as an intern next year, or as a physio, or OT, or speech therapist next year, there will be people that you'll be teaching. If you're in a teaching hospital, there would be medical students that you'll be teaching. But if not, there are nursing staff and other people in the area that you're working that you will be teaching. So teaching is extremely important. The third thing is research. And I noticed on the oath that you took on Friday that research actually comes quite low down. But research is one of the most exciting things that you'll be doing as a healthcare professional. The opportunity to question what you do, to question well-known dogma, to be innovative, to discover new things, it's the most wonderful thing that you as a healthcare professional can do. And then, as a result of the research, the opportunity to present your research at international meetings, which results in giving you the opportunity to travel. And most of us sitting on the stage have traveled extensively and have seen virtually every corner of the world. And during your travels, you get to meet wonderful people and you make friends that are lasting forever. So those are my kind of take on what it means to be a healthcare professional. And so I wish you well on this journey of being a healthcare professional. I hope that you all have a career, as I've been blessed to have. Now, no talk by a transplant surgeon from Cape Town would be complete without a reference to Chris Barnard. And so I'm going to conclude by telling you a story about Chris Barnard. There are actually many stories about Chris Barnard, and I've got two that I want to tell you, but time doesn't permit me to tell you the second one. But if you do want to hear the second one, when I finish the first one, if you all stand up, applaud loudly, and shout encore, the Vice Chancellor might allow me to tell you the second story. So the first story is about Chris Barnard and the chauffeur, and I apologize to my colleagues on the left here who've probably heard the story before, but it's a great story and I love telling it. So Chris Barnard, you people weren't born when Chris Barnard did the first heart transplant in 1967. And Chris Barnard became very famous. Groote Hospital became very famous. The University of Cape Town became famous as a result of that first heart transplant. In fact, for many years since then, when you spoke about Cape Town and South Africa, people thought overseas about the first heart transplant. We've only just moved out of that legacy, and South Africa is better known for other things nowadays, things like crime and corruption, and the place you go to have your wife murdered if you wanted to. But in those days, we were known for the first heart transplant, and Chris Barnard became very well known after he did the first heart transplant. Became a celebrity, and he was invited to give talks all over the world, internationally, but even in South Africa as well. He was invited to give talks nationally, and even locally in Cape Town, and in areas around Cape Town. And the talks he gave in Cape Town and around Cape Town, he normally did it after hours. So he would do a day's work, and then drive to the venue and give a lecture. And this kind of took its toll, and he actually became a bit tired of this, and he complained to the University of Cape Town. And the University of Cape Town in those days were not sympathetic to the doctors, and they just said, look, it's part of your job. He then complained to the provincial government, and they were a bit more sympathetic. And so they gave him a driver to drive him to the various venues. And obviously, while they were driving to the various venues, they spoke about heart transplantation. And in fact, during the lecture also, the driver would be sitting at the back, and he heard things about heart transplantation, about the indications, the technical aspects, complications, and the results of heart transplantation. And he actually became quite knowledgeable about heart transplantation. And the story goes that one day they were driving to this venue outside of Cape Town, and Chris Barnard said to the driver, you know, I'm feeling very tired after a day's work, and I really don't feel like giving this talk tonight. So the driver said, look, why don't we change places? I'll go and give the talk, and you can sit and relax in the back. You must remember this was in 1967. Television only came into South Africa in 1976, so the chances are that in this town outside of Cape Town, they probably didn't recognize what Chris Barnard looked like. And so he thought, look, this might work. So they got to the outskirts of the town, and they changed jackets. The driver put on the suit jacket, and Chris Barnard put on the white driver's jacket. And they went in, and Chris Barnard sat at the back, and the driver gave this talk. And he spoke about the indications for heart transplantation, the technical aspects, complications, the results, gave this wonderful talk. And it just so happened that on that evening, Michael DeBakey, who was a famous American heart transplant surgeon, happened to be in the audience. And Michael DeBakey got up and he asked this incredibly complicated question about interleukin-2 receptors in rejection and the treatment thereof. And Chris Barnard realized that this is going to be a disaster. The driver is going to make a fool of himself, and the whole charade would be found out, and Chris Barnard's name would be mud. And he was just about to own up to this when the driver started speaking. And the driver said, I recognize you. You're Michael DeBakey, the famous heart surgeon from America. You'd obviously seen his picture in one of the journals in the office. He said, you know, you're the famous surgeon from America. And he said, you know, I'm really surprised that somebody as famous as you should ask such a stupid question. And then he said, just to show you how stupid the question is, I'm going to ask my driver at the back to answer the question. Thank you very much.